Welcome to the VEROSCOPE analysis today of Wendi Adelson, who is testifying in the trial of the state of Florida versus Donna Adelson, her mother. And Donna was convicted of the murder of Dan Markel, who was married to Wendi. This is Wendi, if you're new to the case. Wendi is a lawyer who was married to Dan Markel, and her mother had him murdered by two hitmen. But to make it even worse, her brother, Charlie, was also involved, and he's also been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So we're going to be continuing the analysis of Wendi Adelson on the witness stand in the trial of her mother. And thank you so much to the trial channel, who please go and subscribe to the trial channel. They're the best channel on YouTube, in my opinion, for live trials, commentary free, and also they're edited, so a lot of the sidebars are removed and a lot of the waiting around. So if you enjoy trials and you enjoy commentary-free trials in particular, do go and visit the trial channel and subscribe. Also, whilst you're in the subscribing mood, if you get a chance to subscribe to VEROSCOPE, please do. I would very much appreciate it. So let's carry on with the actual trial itself, and we're going to be watching about 15 minutes of Wendi being examined by the prosecutor. She does have immunity, but we're going to be looking out for deception that she uses in her language and hedging, and particularly around the television, and possibly finding some archaic type of language that might not be her language, might be referring to an older type of TV. And look out for where she always gives herself the possibility of a hedge. In other words, if she's caught later, she always said might or could have or would have or don't remember, can't remember, could be, I believe, possibly, all of the hedging which she does constantly. So note that, tune your ear in to how she's being deceptive. And on that note, let's carry on and listen to what Wendi has to say for herself.
Everyone can be seated. Ms. Cappleman, you may resume with your examination of the witness.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Adelson, I want to ask you a little bit about your brother, Charlie Adelson. How is he older or younger than you?
I'm the youngest of the three children, so both my brothers are older than me.
How much older than you is Charlie?
He's 2.5 years older.
And in the time frame 2013 to 2014, how much time were you spending with Charlie Adelson?
I don't remember spending a lot of time with him. I was in Tallahassee most of the time, and he was in South Florida most of the time.
Did you speak with Charlie regularly during that time?
We did.
What type of lifestyle did your brother have around the time frame 2014 to 2016?
My brother was a single guy. He was dating lots of people. He worked really hard till early in the morning till late at night, sometimes 6 or 7 days a week.
Worked hard, played hard?
Yeah, I think that was kind of his lifestyle.
Did he like nice things?
He did.
Cars?
He liked nice cars. He liked nice food.
He kept a gun in his scrubs, apparently.
During the phone conversations you had with your brother during that time, did you talk much about your marital problems?
I mean, to be honest, I don't remember, but I'm sure we talked about it.
Is it fair to say during the year or so leading up to Mr. Markel's murder that your brother did not like him?
I think that's fair to say.
Did your brother joke about hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel?
He did make that joke.
What was the joke specifically?
And my brother had bought me a TV as a divorce present, and he would make the joke that the TV was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
Did you ever tell Jeffrey Lacasse about that joke?
I may have mentioned that joke to Jeff Lacasse.
Who is that?
Jeff Lacasse was someone that I dated after Danny and I got divorced.
Had he met your parents?
I think he may have met them once, but not in any kind of formal way. Just my parents were visiting and he might have said hi, something like that.
Did your parents express any opinion about him, whether they liked him or not?
I don't remember them really taking notice of him.
Do you remember sending a text back on May 28th of 2014 that saying, quote, "My parents are not into him," referring to Jeff?
I don't remember sending that text.
On the morning of the murder, did you have an appointment at your residence on Aqua Ridge?
I did.
What was the nature of that appointment?
I had an appointment with the Geek Squad. There were some vertical lines on the TV. I didn't know if maybe one of my kids had tapped it or touched it, but it wasn't working. And so I had an appointment, and they were scheduled to come sometime between 8 and 12.
And was that...
Okay, so have you noticed there's a slight change in Wendi when the TV is brought up? Her answers got longer, unnecessary information, unnecessary language, reasons why, excuses, etc. Started to enter the language in a pattern which hadn't been there before. Before it was very much, I don't remember, I can't remember, maybe, perhaps, could be. This time she answers at length. But notice she puts in vertical lines as if it's an old cathode ray television. It was cathode rays, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, not cathode. It was cathode rays. And you used to tap it, didn't you? You used to hit the side of it. So there was the tapping of the box, and then sometimes these vertical lines or the cathode ray would realign itself. And this is what the old televisions were like. But these aren't modern TVs. We don't do that. So did Charlie buy Wendi a new television after the cathode ray type of sets, you know, the old boxes that you hit on the side if you can't quite get a signal, and those vertical lines disappear and you get a picture again? Is this the archaic language of Donna? Because in the murder plan, everything would have been discussed, including code words, including alibis. I'll send the TV repairman around. We'll say it's got vertical lines. Say you were tapping it and you couldn't get a picture back. This sort of thing. So bear that in mind. We're trying to enter the language of Wendi. We're trying to get rapport. We're trying to get linguistic empathy, as if we're thinking like she's thinking. And then we can start to pick up this forensic linguistic intelligence at conversational speed, which is the idea of practicing these VEROSCOPE videos each day, where we run through an example, until eventually, at this conversational speed, with someone who's trying to deceive you, you'll pick up the patterns. And it's very satisfying when you do, and they don't deceive you. So that's why we're learning, partly why. Let's carry on.
The TV, that was the same TV that your brother joked he got you as a divorce present because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
Yes.
And on the morning of the murder, did your mom text you about the TV repair guy being on the way or coming to your house?
She did. I didn't buy the TV, and the TV had an insurance policy that came with the Geek Squad help. So I think they reached out to her first, and then she let me know that they were coming.
The TV was under warranty, right?
I believe so.
But the damage that you had was not covered by the warranty, was it?
I don't think so.
Okay, and do you recall how long the TV repairman was at your house?
I don't. It was a reasonable amount of time, so maybe an hour or so.
And why did it take an hour to determine that the TV couldn't be repaired or was not under warranty?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about AV equipment.
And The TV repair
She's still struggling to breathe with that mouth open and the tilted head. Anyway.
guy, well, I guess I should ask, were you upset, crying and upset during the time that the TV repairman was there?
I don't think so.
Were you particularly upset about the TV, the fact that the TV couldn't be repaired?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the TV guy...
So notice how sensitive the TV is. It's all, I don't think so, and she can't breathe and does the tilt head mouth open act.
Your recollection didn't actually do anything. He didn't fix the TV, didn't take it away, he didn't bring you a new one?
No, he was trying to fix it. I mean, I think he was trying to assess what the problem was and if it could be fixed, but it wasn't taken away.
The problem was like an impact to the screen, right?
It seemed to be that, yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting, isn't it? So as soon as she's challenged that it's not vertical lines, this old-fashioned, archaic, let's tap the TV box type of language, which perhaps is her mother's. This is in my belief, a deliberately smashed television in order to coordinate the alibi, along with the entire alibi architecture, which was quite extensive and involved going to refuel the car, going to buy bullet bourbon for the party afterwards, and going to visit two friends who perhaps she doesn't visit that often, and the TV repairman. So the entire murder morning is full of constructed alibi architecture. And I believe that includes the work of the mother, Donna, who's on trial here, coordinating with the TV repairman part of the alibi. And I believe, as the prosecutor suggests, that the television becomes a symbol of the murder and a code and part of the code word. And we know from the police interview, which if you haven't seen the very first police interview of Wendi, I believe she starts to use code with her mother on the phone call that they have together. So if you haven't seen those veroscopes, go and look at those. They're very revealing in their own right. Let's carry on.
Did you go to a dinner after the murder of Dan Markel in which you vomited at the table?
It was several weeks until I felt ready to leave my apartment. I was very, very scared.
So that happen?
It did happen.
Okay, and that was in a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm. It was at a restaurant.
Who was present at that dinner?
It was my brother and me.
And where was the dinner?
South
Florida or here?
It was South Florida.
Okay, and you said it was several weeks after the murder?
I believe so.
Had you ever heard Charlie, your brother, refer to that dinner as a celebratory dinner?
Only in previous trials, but never to me personally.
Did you hear him say it the night that you had the dinner or after that?
No.
That you threw up at the celebration?
No.
Do you know Katherine Magbanua?
I met her on 2 occasions.
Okay. Do you have an independent friendship with her, or did you just meet her through your brother?
I just met her through my brother.
Who was she to Charlie?
She was a person that he had dated.
Was she a serious girlfriend?
I didn't think so.
Okay. Did he have a lot of girlfriends that kind of came and went?
He had a lot of girlfriends, and they all looked somewhat similar.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's... One moment, guys. Show you what I marked as 35. Do you recognize stakes 35?
I do.
How do you recognize it?
This was a visit. I went to the beach with Katherine and a friend of hers for about an hour.
Katherine Magbanua?
Yes.
All right, and when was this photograph taken?
It was Father's Day weekend of June 2014.
Just about a month before the murder?
Yes.
And was this the first time you'd ever met Katherine Magbanua?
It was the second time. The first time was at a dinner with my brother and with Jeff Lacasse when I was running an alternative spring break, I came down to visit.
Is that the dinner at Yardbird?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get back to that. So this was the second meeting.
Yes.
All right, Judge, move to introduce State's Exhibit 35.
No objection. 635.
Which one is Katherine Magbanua?
She's on the left with the white top.
Okay, and that's you in the center there.
That's me in the middle.
And this photograph, was it taken near your parents' residence in
It
South
was.
Beach?
Very close.
During that trip, were there any conversations with Katherine Magbanua or your brother or your mother about the murder?
No.
Is Katherine Magbanua the girlfriend that your brother had in this time frame leading up to the murder?
I believe so, but he had multiple girlfriends, so I don't know if she was the only one.
Okay, but that's definitely the one that you interacted with the month before.
Yes, ma'am.
Did anything stand out to you about this particular girl as being, you know, the one or special or different from the parade of girlfriends that
No.
Charlie had? Did your brother have girlfriends after this woman, Magbanua?
Yes.
Okay, including, do you remember a Whitney?
I do remember Whitney.
And then there was June Mchinda,
Yes, I remember June.
a Junko, I think.
I remember Junko.
Okay. Prior to Dan Markel's murder, was this image taken at your trip to South Beach that was most recent before the murder?
No,
So you went down another time between this trip and the murder.
I did. I went down for my dad's birthday.
And when was that?
It would have been, his birthday was on July 5th. And so I was down, I don't remember the exact amount of time, but maybe 7 or 10 days over July 4th and for his birthday, and then went back to Tallahassee.
Did you run into Katherine Magbanua at all on that trip?
I don't think so.
Any discussion with any members of your family about the murder on that trip?
No,
It was your dad's 70th birthday, right?
it was.
And was there a party?
We had a party.
Was that friends, family, both?
It was friends and family.
But no discussion about the murder.
And I think, is this the trip that we were talking about earlier where your parents had come to Tallahassee to fetch you and take you down south?
Yes.
Was there any discussion on that trip about any other relocation strategies?
I don't have any memory of that.
Like bribing, converting to Christianity, any of those things?
It had been, I think, about a year since.
Since those were first broached.
Right, but I'm just saying by that time it was the summer of 2014. I don't remember any kind of conversation like that.
Okay. Was there any discussion on that trip of the pending motion that included precluding your mom from having unsupervised visits with your boys?
No.
Do you remember the time frame that the repairman was at your house on the morning of the murder?
I remember more or less. I feel like he came, I think he was supposed to come sometime between 8 and 12, and he came on the early side. Because I just remember being surprised and trying to get dressed really fast.
Okay, and Dan Markel was killed between 8 and 12, right? We
He
know
was.
that now. Who paid the repairman that came to your house?
I think he was under contract, so I don't have a strong memory of that, but I don't remember paying him. It's possible that I did.
I'm going to ask you a few more questions about Mr. Lacasse. You said you might have mentioned the joke to him about TV's cheaper than a hitman. Did you ever use the term TV as code for the murder in any context?
No.
Did you ever hear your mom do that, other than the recordings in this case?
No.
So she didn't talk to you about the TV?
No.
Isn't that interesting? The prosecutor has just asked if the mother talked to Wendi about the TV. But Wendi says no. Do you see how she's caught her? Wendy's saying no to the TV being the talisman of the murder and part of the code word. That no, Mum never spoke to me about the inverted commas TV. And yet she did. They spoke extensively together about the TV. So Wendi has denied that her mother has spoken to her about inverted commas the TV because the prosecutor intimated that it is a code word. And immediately we have Wendi now denying that she's spoken about the TV with her mother. Isn't that interesting? Okay, let's carry on. It's a bit like when you go through customs, they'll perhaps say to you, "Is there anything in the suitcase, sir?" And of course the answer is yes, isn't it? It's not empty. And so it's and the person might say, "No, there's nothing in the suitcase," as if there's nothing illegal in the suitcase. Okay, but Wendi has denied that her mother and herself spoke about the television. Interesting. And they did speak about the television. So it was well done by the prosecutor to use a psychological trick there. Okay, let's carry on.
Did you see Mr. Lacasse? And you said that was somebody that you had been dating around the time of the murder, is that right?
We had broken up just before that week that Danny was killed.
All right. Did you have an occasion to see him on July 13th of 2014, so just about a week before the murder at your residence?
I don't remember him being at my residence, but I do remember seeing him around that time.
Okay. And on July 13th, 2014, do you remember asking to share something in confidence with Mr. Lacasse?
I don't remember doing that.
Did you tell Mr. Lacasse?
I don't. And then she stuttered, didn't she? There was a bit of cognitive overload, and then she said, "Remember doing that." I caught that she does remember doing that.
In the context of, if something were to happen to Danny, I could move back to Miami. Did you tell Lacasse that regarding the relocation battle in the summer of 2013, Charlie had, seriously, not as a joke, explored all options to resolve the problem, including hiring a hitman?
I did not have that conversation with Jeff Lacasse.
Okay. This is a reliable denial, which is concerning. Wendi says, "I did not have that conversation with Jeff Lacasse." She has a complete denial. I did not have that conversation with Jeff Lacasse. So normally speaking, we would say that this is a reliable denial. And yet something tells me that she did. So this is one of those confusing aspects of forensic linguistics intelligence, that rules are meant to be broken. They're not hard and fast. Here we see the construction of a reliable denial, and yet, of course, she has to, doesn't she? She has to deny it. So it's contaminated in that sense. I wonder what Jeff Lacasse says, because if he says the opposite, this is one of those rare circumstances in deception where we have deception by commission. In other words, a barefaced lie if it is a lie. And people who deceive and want you to not know the truth, they rarely use a bold-faced lie unless they are cornered and have to. I suppose you could argue that the prosecutor has cornered her and that she has to give a strong denial. I did not have that conversation. And of course, previously, she talks about that conversation as if she remembers the conversation. I did not have that conversation with Jeff Lacasse. Okay, let's carry on. So we have to note this. It's the first reliable denial from Wendi Adelson. Okay, let's carry on.
And I think you said the week before, but wasn't it actually about, I think it was 4 days before the murder, you sent an email to Mr. Lacasse? Do you remember that email, bump in the road?
I remember telling him I didn't want to have contact with him anymore. I don't remember exactly what date I sent it, but whatever date Sunday or Monday of that week would have been around when I sent it.
Does this refresh your memory at all?
It does.
Okay. And so you weren't officially breaking up with him so much as asking for a certain period of time without contact, is that right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And then your plan was to reach back out to him and figure things out one way or the other?
I mean, I think I was breaking up with him, but I have a strong aversion to conflict, so this was probably my way of...
A strong aversion to conflict. Okay, so she wanted Lacasse out of her life during murder week so that she could pack and not be seen to be packing, and also so that she could coordinate surveillance and other jobs which are part of her role, again in murder week, without Lacasse hanging around the house, the property. So that's what I think's really been going on. And nothing to do with she doesn't like conflict, but that's just my opinion.
Not breaking up with him without breaking up with him.
Okay. And I want to go back to the day of the murder. We know about the TV repairman left about, did you say about 9?
The day of the murder, Wendy's most important day of her life, in effect. And she can't remember very much about the TV repairman, can she? It's all very vague and deceptive. Okay, let's carry on. I think the TV repairman was in and out, alibi established, and then she had time to do whatever else was on her task list that morning, apart from all of the other alibi architecture which had to be achieved before meeting with the friends.
The truth is I don't really remember, but, something like 9 or 10.
Definitely before 10 or by 10?
Yes, that's my best memory.
All right, where did you go
She's not being committed, is she? She's not committing to a timeline.
after the TV? What was the next place you went after the TV repairman left?
So I was home, I think, for a couple of hours first. I was doing a little bit of work. I was talking to some friends. I think I ate breakfast. And then I left probably close to noon.
I left. Okay. Let's go to the analysis and let's see how much you caught, and let's see how much we can find together. So just in this 15-minute section, there's about 150 markers which I found. I could probably find more. Lots of indicators. We have stuttering events where it's actually very important. That's cognitive overload. We have a number of flat denials, and we have quite a number of missing time periods, 7 of them. So, the killer finding. The television that Charlie joked was cheaper than hiring a hitman requires repair on the exact morning of Dan Markel's murder. Isn't that a coincidence? Creating Wendy's alibi for the murder window. And her mother is still involved in creating this part of the alibi architecture for that morning. Yet she cannot commit to a single specific time during this entire 4-hour morning period. So the TV is symbolically connected to the murder for hire discussion and the jokes with Charlie, shared with her boyfriend, and I believe the boyfriend says it was serious, it wasn't a joke, and we saw that complete, reliable denial from Wendi just now, didn't we? Which, if Lacasse is saying the opposite to that, one of them's lying, if that is true. TV breaks requiring repair. but we had that archaic language, didn't we, of lines down the television, and you might need to tap the side of it. And she was very vague and passive in blaming the children for the break and these lines down the TV, which then changed on challenge to, well, actually, yes, the television did appear to be smashed. And we're not sure if it's cheaper to replace it anyway. So we have the revealing of the deception in the television itself. We have complete vagueness on all timing specifics during this window. Everything's vague, very difficult to pin Wendi down to a timeline. And the prosecutor, do you remember, she asks oddly specific questions about the TV as code. And with the mother, Donna, is coordinating the TV repair appointment. And also, did you notice that she wasn't sure who paid the bill? Again, she was very vague about that. She's trying to keep her mother's involvement with the television and herself as far apart as possible. So the prosecutor says, what was the joke specifically? Wendi says, notice she started with and my brother had bought me a TV as a divorce present. It's a bit of a strange thing. Is this common in America? A divorce present? I don't know. And he would make the joke that the TV was cheaper than hiring a hitman. And Wendi gave us lots of unnecessary information there. The prosecutor just asks for the joke content only. But Wendi goes on to give us unnecessary information, so we notice that. And she started with and. This is a connecting word. So I wonder what she was thinking before she began this. My brother had bought me a TV as a divorce present, and only then provides the joke content. So it was important to Wendi to provide all of this background information. When subjects volunteer information beyond what's asked, the brain is revealing what it considers to be important, priority to them. Extra details that connect seemingly unrelated concepts indicate those connections exist in the subject's mental map of the events. So when we try to establish linguistic empathy with the subject, this is what we're catching. We're trying to get inside their mind, inside their thinking. That's what we mean by linguistic empathy. To try and be in their shoes as they're talking, what they're feeling, what their concerns, their fears, their worries are. If they're guilty, they can't say too much. What if they make a mistake? We need to get inside the way that they're talking to try and understand what it is that they're saying. So increasing our communication. Why this matters. Wendi's brain is unconsciously connecting three elements: the TV, the divorce, and the hitman joke. Because it was all unnecessary language, but it was important to her to put all of that into the answer. This TV will later require repair on the morning of Dan's murder. The unnecessary backstory reveals Wendi instinctively knows this TV is significant beyond a simple joke. She's establishing its symbolic importance without realizing that she's doing so. So the alibi window, and here we saw a complete temporal collapse. So let's look at her timeline. The prosecutor says, on the morning of the murder, did you have an appointment at your residence? Wendi says, I did. I had an appointment with the Geek Squad. There were some vertical lines on the TV. I didn't know if maybe one of my kids had tapped it or touched it, but it wasn't working. And so I had an appointment and they were scheduled to come sometime between 8 and 12. So let's break this down and now go into a little bit of detail. So Vertical lines on the TV. This is an unnecessary technical detail in the answer. Then we have speculation about the cause. I didn't know if maybe one of my kids had tapped it or touched it, she says. We have a double qualifier there, notice, if and maybe. If maybe. Tapped it or touched it. We have alternative options. We have if, maybe, tapped it or touched it, vertical lines on the TV. This smells of BS. And we also have a reason why. And so, which we would mark up in blue normally if we were marking up a statement, as we would a word like because, we would also mark this up in blue as an example. So VEROSCOPE analysis shows so, because, since, and therefore are among the highest indicators of sensitivity, so we mark them in blue. They signal the subject as explaining rather than simply reporting. And then we have repetition. She says appointment 3 times. So it's sensitive. When words or phrases repeat in close proximity, the repeated element holds significance for the subject beyond what the content alone reveals. So we're going into a bit more detail now. And we also have passive construction. They were scheduled, which removes agency and her mum's agency, and indeed the very person's agency. It becomes the geek squad. They were scheduled. So when a subject's natural verbal flow is interrupted to insert additional details that weren't requested, those interruptions reveal where the brain considers there to be sensitivity or importance that must be addressed. So do you see how much intelligence we're getting from this sentence when we break it down and analyze it? So the deception markers with the routine appointment, the duration question. Do you remember this? Do you recall how long the TV repairman was at your house? Wendi says, I don't. It was a reasonable amount of time. So, reason why, maybe an hour or so. So we have direct admission of no memory. This is the most important day of her life. You would remember everything that the TV man said, did, how long he was there, what you were doing. Your ex-husband's about to be murdered that morning. You would remember. But Wendi has amnesia where anything that's dangerous to her, she can't remember at all. And anything which isn't dangerous, she remembers perfectly in detail. It's selective memory. So we have the hedging pattern breakdown. I don't. She admits no memory. Then she realizes that's ridiculous. So says reasonable amount of time. This is vague, sounds reasonable, strangely enough. And it's subjective, what is reasonable. And then we have, this isn't enough for her psychologically, so she introduces the reason why, because she feels weak and vulnerable with this lie. It needs support, so she introduces the support structure. This is what liars do. It becomes like an accent. Once you recognize the accent, you'll recognize deception whenever it occurs. Humans, for some strange reason, in the English language, when deception occurs, they all begin to sound the same. Isn't that strange? She says, so, reason why indicator, higher sensitivity, we would mark that in blue, remember. Maybe, so she cannot commit to the estimate. An hour or so everything is hedged. Additional hedge with the also at the end. It needed all of that support because it's deceptive. This is her alibi for the murder window. Dan Markel, we think, was shot around 11 a.m. Is that right? Put it in the comments if you know the exact time. She claims the repairman was there but cannot recall for how long. And the VEROSCOPE principle here is when subjects cannot provide time details about events they claim to remember, The missing time spans represent information being deliberately withheld. So something's going on this morning, the murder morning, that Wendi doesn't want us to know about, and she's bought herself time with how long the TV repairman is there for and what other jobs she was doing that morning. I imagine it was quite a stressful morning, the morning of the murder. She has to speak and coordinate with her brother Charlie to begin with. So, justification reveals consciousness. The prosecutor, why did it take an hour? Wendi, I don't know. I don't know a lot about AV equipment, which I think stands for audio visual. So she knows enough to know about slang terms like AV. Unnecessary justification. We have consciousness of suspicion. So the analysis, she wasn't asked about her technical knowledge. She volunteers this justification preemptively. VEROSCOPE principle. When subjects explain why they cannot remember, rather than simply stating they don't know, it reveals awareness that their lack of knowledge appears suspicious. It needs support. It needs justifying. Truthful people have no need to justify ordinary memory failures. Now remember, this isn't set in stone. Sometimes you might justify, depending on circumstances, but generally speaking, more times than not, in comparison, this is a pattern to look out for. And then we have the complete collapse. The prosecutor says, do you remember the time frame that the repairman was at your house? Wendi says, I remember more or less. I feel like, we note this because here we have emotion introduced into the statement, which is rare with Wendi. I feel like he came, but notice that she only feels like he came, not that he did. I remember more or less. Notice how Wendi talks. Everything gives her wriggle room. I feel like he came, I think. It was, he was. So here we have self-censorship as she changes the direction of the sentence, supposed to come sometime between 8 and 12, and he came on the early side. So she's not going to allow you to pinpoint. So early side becomes the phrase. And then she's uncomfortable. She needs a reason why. Because I, similar pattern to the I stutter here. There's the mixture of cognitive load, deceptive stress, self-censorship. It's a whole mixture of things going on, potentially. It's not just one. When we learn, we might learn one at a time, but then in the real world, things all become mixed. She says, because I just remember, just being a minimization word, remember is unnecessary to put here, being surprised and trying to get dressed really fast. So the paragraph is deceptive, isn't it? Do you recognize that? If you do, you're beginning to understand the accent. You're getting good, I would imagine. So, and well done. Well done. If you've been following the VEROSCOPE channel and you've recognized that you're actually becoming quite good now, isn't that wonderful? So, the alibi disintegration, the cascading hedges and the stuttering, the linguistic breakdown. She says, I, and the first stutter, the VEROSCOPE principle, repetition of sounds, syllables, or words indicates sensitivity at that precise point in the statement. The brain's transmission speed is interrupted by cognitive stress. Remember more or less the qualifier, the weak commitment. I feel like the qualifier, emotion-based, not factual. I think qualifier, uncertainty marker. The, second stutter on the same word. Early side, another qualifier, vague, non-specific. Because, reason why, higher sensitivity. I, third stutter in the same answer. We have peripheral detail, being surprised, getting dressed really fast, core detail missing, no specific time provided, which was what we wanted. So we have pattern recognition here. Wendi provides detailed peripheral body posture information. She remembers being surprised and getting dressed really fast, but maintains complete vagueness on the actual time during the murder window. And the principle here is when subjects provide vivid detail about insignificant peripheral matters whilst remaining vague on critical factual elements, the vague portion reveals where deception exists. Excessive focus on minor details serves as distraction from the inability to provide core facts. So there's that stress and pressure to provide some truth to the deception, if that makes any sense. The final nail. The truth is, so Wendi feels the pressure. Did you say about 9? Wendi says, I, self-censorship, introduces this. The truth is, which buys you a little bit more thinking time, doesn't it? And sells your next part of the message. If you're gaslighting somebody, which Wendi has done all her life and learnt it from her mother. She says, the truth is, I don't really remember. The truth is, I don't really remember. But you know, something like 9 or 10, definitely before 10 or by 10. Yes, that's my best memory. Okay, so she refuses to answer or be pinned down to her timeline on her alibi architecture morning. The truth is qualifier, red flag, self-interruption and self-censorship. The truth is, starts the statement, stops and restarts. Self-censorship, restart the sentence. The truth is, and then it was quite funny, wasn't it? The truth is, I don't really remember. It's quite common. It's quite a common deceptive marker. And so I find them funny because when you've heard them before, or very, very similar, like the French accent, it reminds you of other cases. Liars, they all sound the same after a while. I don't really remember is the hedge on don't remember with really. Something like, definitely before, that's my best memory. That's all you're going to get. That's my best one. The alibi that cannot stand. Dan Markel is shot around 11. Wendi claims TV repairman is at the residence between 8 and 12. This appointment is her alibi for the murder timing, but she cannot provide the specific arrival time, the duration of the visit, the specific departure time, whether she paid him, who actually organised all of this, what was wrong with the bloody television in the first place, etc. And she goes on this morning to go and establish more alibi architecture at the gas station, at the off license to buy the Bullet bourbon, and then at the restaurant with her friends. The whole morning has been constructed for alibi on murder morning on purpose, in my opinion. Veroscope analysis. The time gaps in testimony don't automatically indicate deception. They indicate information the subject has chosen to exclude. And when those gaps occur precisely during critical periods, like an alibi window during a murder, and when every surrounding detail is also vague, the pattern reveals strategic omission rather than organic memory failure. Wendi has left out every factual detail about the most important hour of her life, the hour that provides her alibi for her ex-husband's murder. So, mother in the timeline, the text message. In fact, I think this brings us to the end of today's Veroscope, and we can continue with section 3 tomorrow when we carry on with Wendi's examination in the trial of her mother, Donna, for the murder of Dan Markel. So that brings us to the end of today's Veroscope. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I know I always say that, but apparently I should. I even see the percentage difference by saying it. It's I get twice as many subscribers by asking you to subscribe as I do when I forget. Isn't that amazing? I couldn't believe that myself. But there we are. That's facts for you. So please subscribe. And even better, if you can hit the notification bell, then when I put out the next Wendi video, which I think will be tomorrow, you'll be advised as soon as that is live. And so I look forward to your comments in this video and hopefully that video as well. And if you've been considering for a while now to join as a member, where we're going into forensic linguistic intelligence and body language, and also how to elicit through questions to discover the truth, do consider joining as a member. We're just about to launch chapter 4, so there's still time to catch up with the first 3 chapters, and that's in the membership section of this YouTube channel of Veroscope. Okay, look forward to chat to you in the comments and enjoy the rest of the day.